Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're taking a look at the brand new HGUC Cassie Gundam. Very cool. One that, if it wasn't for Hathaway's Flash movie coming out, don't know if or when we'd ever got this in kit form, but thankfully, finally we're getting an actual Bandai model kit of this. And it does look very cool. Not particularly my favorite version of the Cassie. There's been a couple of different iterations of the design over the years since the original design. This one, that's fine. This is the one they're using in the anime, in the movies, so this is the one they're gonna go with. I personally prefer the Katoki design myself, but anyway, let's check it out. Alright, as you guys can see, it is in a pretty big box, because it's a pretty big Gundam. I think the actual cannon height of this is around 23-25 meters in height, which should make it about the same height or taller than the Unicorn Gundam in Destroy mode there, for example. So it's going to be pretty big, and then obviously, aside from its height, it's very massive as well too, with all that stuff going on. But the box art looks fantastic there, with it flying down, and it just looks so sparkly and crazy with that design, with the flight armor and everything. It's a really crazy one, and then with this really wild head design there with the super long V-fan, the super long parts out the front of the face. It's a really crazy head design. So let's check out this sides of the box. Here you can see this is number 238 in the HGUC line. And then here on the bottom of the box there, you can see what the kit is going to look like, all painted up there. It looks pretty nicely detailed as well too, front and back. And there it is with the flight form there, with the kind of just the shoulders opened up. Essentially the front part opened up a little bit, so there's a little gimmick there talking about that. And then action over here, even though it's a big bulky boy, it should pose pretty nicely there. It's got a really cool beam rifle design as well too, as well as beam sabers there, and the funnel missiles stored up in there. And I won't be getting the set that includes the Penelope and the Cassie together and all the effect parts and stuff if you guys are wanting to see about that. I won't be reviewing that, but that also exists in case any of you guys are wondering. Over here on the top of the box then we got a little bit about the weapons. Again, just the beam rifle, beam saber, funnel missiles, and a shield. And there's a cool CG image there of the kit with all the funnel missiles and everything flying around. Alright, cracking open the box here. Even though there's a lot of white on this kit, you don't immediately see that because it's all hidden underneath. So we got our kind of 4-color runner there, and our darker colors on top, and then all of our white parts underneath, which is the main color of the armor. Underneath that, we've got some stuff here. What's this? Just a little thing about the Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway movie coming out, or movie series. I think they're making a couple of them, right? Anyway, it looks very good. Looks like very similar to Gundam Unicorn in its style and in the music and everything, so I'm going to appreciate that visually, but it's just really a shame they're calling it Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway, at least for the English title. The Japanese title is still Hathaway's Flash. I just think that for the English title, they should have stuck with that. I don't know why they switched it up to just Gundam Hathaway. It just sounds kind of stupid. Anyway, checking out the manual here. It is a typical HGUC manual there with just a nice big reference image of the painted kit there on the front for your reference. And there's the head height, 26 meters, so actually taller than what I was expecting. So yeah, it's going to be even taller than the Unicorn Gundam in Destroy mode. There you can see just more information about the Gundam. Go around here onto the back side, just kind of same kind of stuff we saw on the outside of the box. It's a couple different action poses, weapons, all of that. Your color guide is down here in Japanese and in English for your reference, and there's a couple of little detail shots there so you can see some of that. And let's see. On the center pages, we've got some more information. There's a bunch of info there in Japanese and in English about the Gundam, about the flight form, about the beam rifle, the funnel missiles, and the beam saber, shield, and some specs down there. Over here on the other side, a little bit about the story, I guess. That's also there in Japanese and English. There about the Gundam, about Hathaway Noah there, and then some other kits from the line. Of course, we've got the Messer and the Penelope also out from this series. Then going just back to the front of the manual, then we've got our parts list there, and basically everything else is just going to be going through the construction, and then at the end I'm sure we'll have a little bit basically just about how to transform it, sort of quote-unquote transform it to flight mode, or flight form, and that's really kind of going to be about it. So let's check out the runners. Alright, so starting off with our foil sticker sheet, which is pretty sizable. That's a little bit disappointing, but I mean, it is a pretty big Gundam, so I mean, these are just making up some small color apps. Orange, yellow, gray, red. There's one for the eyes and the camera stickers. That's, expected, but a little bit larger sticker sheet, I think, than we all would have liked. Then we've got two sets of beam sabers here, SB6, which are your typical 1/144 scale size, and then SB1, which are your typical 1/100 scale size beam sabers, and both of these are in a very bright fluorescent green color. Alright, then getting into it here with runner A, it's a 4-color runner. We got a kind of pale orange over here on the side, a little bit pale yellow up there at the top, nice red color down here at the bottom, and then a dark navy blue there in the center. The runner B here is getting into our white armor parts, including our big giant gorilla hands, which are all in white on this kit design as well too, so I don't really particularly like that aspect of this design as well, but there it is. Runner C here, some more large white pieces, of which obviously this large kit is going to have quite a number of. Runner D here as well, some more large white pieces, including some pieces there for the head. Runner E continuing on with the more white armor pieces, and then we've got 2 of these. And finally, runner F for the last of our white pieces, and we got 2 of these as well. Now, one thing I should say about the white is that it does seem to have like a drop of like blue in there. It's not totally pure white. The runner G is getting into what would be sort of our frame and joint parts of the kit in a nice medium gray, kind of warm gray color. Runner H, pretty large runner here, is some more of that, including some parts for our beam rifle there as well too. And runner I, some more joint and frame parts and detail parts. We've got 2 of this I runner. And that's going to continue on to runner J as well too. We've got 2 of this runner as well. And runner K here is some more parts in a dark navy blue color like we saw in the A runner. And lastly, runner L, once again, is just some more dark blue parts. We've got 2 of this L runner. Alright guys, so that is it for all the parts. Quite a lot of parts in there, but of course it's a big kind of crazy design, so that shouldn't be too surprising. Let me go ahead and get it all put together and we'll see how it looks. Alright guys, here it is all built up, a very massive kit, and I gotta say pretty impressive. If you've ever, built the Penelope, building this kit up, it feels very similar to that, as you might imagine, so it's a very familiar build in that sense. And honestly, it seems a little bit weird to say this, but it feels very much like building your standard high grade. Obviously it's a lot larger and it has a lot more parts maybe than your average high grade kit, I think, probably, if you were to actually get down and actually count how many parts are included. I'm sure this has much more than average, but yet still feels like you're building a high grade kit, even though it's that much larger. So I don't know, it was a really fun build though. Obviously a very unique design, so it's a very unique build, and definitely some interesting aspects to the construction as well too. Bandai did some cool things to make this. It's not the construction is very familiar, yet it's not so by the numbers that it's kind of boring in any way. There are definitely some interesting aspects that as you're building it along, you're thinking, oh, that's pretty cool, how certain things go together. So it was definitely a really interesting one. And let's go ahead and check it out in greater detail here. So let's just first take a look at the accessories that you get included with this, and you have no leftover parts, which is fantastic. You've got your action-based connector here, which looks a bit odd because it's made for this very big boy, so you have a very big action-based connection piece. You have a couple other connection pieces which will be used for transforming it into the flight form later on. These are used on the back, you'll need to use those later. And aside from these big open hands, which I have on the kit there at the moment, which are complete with a lot of big empty spaces inside, well, small, but a number of empty spaces on the inside of the hand, unfortunately. Our other hand option parts, we have 3 of them. Basically, you have a trigger finger for the right side, and then regular holding hands for the left and the right side. Those will be for the beam saber handles, and then the trigger finger there obviously for the rifle. So here is that rifle. You got some nice color separation on there with a couple of different blue parts in there to give you the blue accents. You have stickers there, orange and metallic green there for the different cameras on that. Basically it's just 2 halves sandwiched together, so in the blue parts here as well too. You'll have a little seam line on the blue parts, then a seam line going basically everywhere around on the gun as well there too, unfortunately. So it is definitely still a high grade gun. While it's very large and pretty nicely detailed, you do still have a massive seam line on that, except for this barrel tip piece, which is a separate piece there. But that'll fit into the hand very nicely. Our beam saber handles are stored up here on the top of the torso. You'll pop those out, and then the 1/100 scale beam saber effect part goes in one side, and the 1/44 scale beam saber effect part goes in the other side to give you that double beam effect, which is quite long. Overall length on that being just over 25 centimeters in height, taller than the Gundam itself too. And then lastly, we've got the shield. Now the shield is looking a little bit boring, being almost entirely white here on the front. You have a couple of gray stickers for the little vents in there. Those would be easy enough to mask and paint separately though, because they're like a part of this underside piece, and this top piece fits over the top of that, so it would be very easy to paint those in yourself. On the back side though, fortunately, we actually have a separate gray piece for the back of the shield, which is not always the case on high grades. That's pretty rare actually, so it's really nice to have that on there. That'll make painting that much easier for you. You do have another sticker down here at the bottom though. You have a white sticker covering that up. This is just all gray on the underside of there, which I actually don't really mind, but that's supposed to be white, so you have this big white sticker to cover the bottom side of that. On the front, it's an actual white piece though. So again, I think paint aligning this would definitely help to bring out some of those details, because this looks very plain, being all in white. And as you can see, the connection piece is on a track here, which is very tight, but you can move that up and down along the track, and it's just got a ball joint there for plugging onto the side of the arm. On the side of the arm here, on the left and the right, you have this, but you only have one shield. You just have this little cap piece, you just pop that off, and that's where you can plug the shield into right there onto the side of the arm. Admittedly though, it is going to be looking kind of goofy, being have this like huge part on the side of the arm, and it's just like sticking off onto the side of there. It looks a bit odd. It's like way off to the side of the arm, but that's odd is the name of the game with this Gundam. So just speaking on the stickers, let me point out to you guys where the rest of the stickers are. So of course you have stickers for the eyes. There's two separate ones for the left and the right side. And it's really funny how you're building this. You got some really tiny pieces in there for the face. So it's like a typical size 1/44 scale face, really small. And then like a big, massive 100 scale body. So it's kind of really odd putting that together. Around on the back of the head as well there too, you have a little camera sticker right there, a little green one. On the back side, you've got orange stickers that go up in these vents, yellow stickers that wrap around these fins on the back side. On the back skirt, you have red and gray stickers for those two little bits there. Down here on the lower leg, you got orange sticker right there for this vent, orange stickers on the side of the feet there, and back around here onto the front, orange stickers on the side of these chest parts right there. So everything should be pretty easy to mask and paint those as the correct colors if you wanted to paint them. Honestly, and they all do feel like they could have pretty easily been made as actual separate orange pieces, but with this being a high grade, you kind of have to expect, you know, the color separation is not going to be as good as we hope always, but I think adding a few more orange pieces in there couldn't have really cost Bandai all that much. It really would have been nice if a few of these parts would have been separate pieces, but anyway. Let's talk about some of the articulation on this big massive thing here. The head will go up nice and far like that, which does look pretty good for when you're doing your flying poses. That should be pretty good. Actually a little bit farther if I put that all the way back. There you go. So it's got a double joint at the base and at the top of the neck there too. So you got some nice movement there for that. Be careful plugging the head back down because of these kind of long parts on the side of the head. It's very easy to just crash into the front chest piece there. So you kind of have to line it up to go right down into that gap there. And you can get the head pointed all the way down to there. Here on the front of the chest, again for the flight form, these bits open up like that. You can pop those open like so. Just be careful because those will run into this V-fin you have got there on the chest, so just watch out for that. And you do have a little bit of an ab crunch here to move the chest in the midsection there forward and back. It's kind of more back really than forward, because forward is just kind of seems like your standard just straight up standing pose, but you can move it back, and that seems to be like more for the flight mode. So again, when you've got it flying along, you're going to want that to be able to go back, kind of like we had with the RG Zeong, how it had like a really far back bend for doing like the flying through space poses. So that really does that really well, in this case flying through the air. Then of course rotation there at the midsection as well too, not a problem with that. The shoulders are interesting because like this whole shoulder section will move forward and back, but the big massive shoulder parts here actually don't rotate on their own. That's not part of the rotation. They can move up and down, and that's part of the transformation into the flight form, which we'll see shortly. But where the rotation happens is actually up inside here. This part of the arm will rotate, and you kind of have to move. There's another part up inside of there as well too, which I was talking about during the live stream. This part here, that dark blue part with the orange part right there, reminds me of like a Tremors, like a kind of jaw beak part of the Tremors graboid. Anyway, the arm can rotate underneath that part, and that's where you're going to be able to bring the arm up to the front. Anyway, and then back down. You also have a point of rotation here below the elbow joint. It's kind of a lot of stuff going on here, kind of hard to get to, but you can rotate it there as well too. The elbow joint itself will give you a nice full, not 180 degree bend, but a nice double bend there in the elbow. The wrist also you can rotate, and then there's on a ball joint. It's kind of a double joint here, but yeah, just be careful with that. Maybe easier to take it out of there because it's kind of this big space in there, so it's kind of hard to move that around once it's in there. But it's on a ball joint here, like that, and then that's just connected into just a straight peg, which you can just rotate in there. As for our skirt bits, those are connected, but you can cut them apart. What I've done is just twist them so they're not completely separated, so I can actually move them independently, but they're technically still connected, just the plastic in between is just kind of twisted at the moment. But that makes them pretty strong without being too weak. If you completely cut them apart, then you might have them getting kind of a little bit floppy, but if you just twist it, then it's fine. You can see up underneath the skirt armor there as well too, something pretty unusual for a high grade is to have an actual separate gray piece with some nice detail there. So that's pretty cool, and you have that on the back skirt as well too. The back skirt can move, and it's the same thing as the front skirt. You can clip it apart, or you can just kind of twist it apart and the back skirts can move separately. I know it's kind of awkward seeing the whole thing upside down at the moment, but otherwise there's kind of too much stuff going on to really show you guys properly. But those can move separately. The back skirts, you can move them up and down like that. And the side skirts here as well too are just pretty simple. Those just move up and down. No separate gray piece for the inside of those, so just gonna be hollow up in there. But those also will just move kind of like normal. You can rotate them a little bit side to side as well too if you want. For the hip joint, that will be able to rock side to side a little bit, and that's really kind of about it. Otherwise, you have some rotation there at the top of the leg. You can bring the legs all the way out to the side really far. If you move the flight form of the armor up and the front skirt up, you can get the leg up pretty high to the front there as well too, about like 90 degrees to the body. And you got a nice double bend there in the knee as well too to get a pretty nice full knee bend. This knee armor part doesn't separate, that's all just kind of molded together with the lower part of the leg. That said, this part here on the side does move up and down here, obviously, as you can see there. The ankle is on a ball joint and a hinge up there, so you can bring that a little bit to the front and back. Let me see if I can get a better grip on this. You can move the whole ankle forward and back like that, and then just typical ball joint movement here, side to side like that. You can move the toe down, but not up, but you can point that down a little bit, and that's kind of for the transformation. You'll have to take off these parts here on the side of the foot and replace them onto a different angle. So you take that off of there and then point the foot down, and then you're meant to put these back on like that for when it's in its flight form. So I'll show you guys the flight form here in a little bit, but just to show you how that works, how you need to change the angle of those. And then just really cool leg design in general. I mean, I really like the design of the feet. It's got these really super long feet with the wings on the side of the feet, and then the leg design with them being asymmetrical, the inside having these big vent parts there, which are actual separate orange pieces, so that's nice. And the outside having this big armor piece with this little fin on that like that. I really like the leg design on the Cassie here. And then around here on the back, you have this big thruster bell right there, which is not supposed to move. That one's just kind of loose like that. But very cool design, piping bit design there on the back of the knee. And then just going back up here to the backpack, this center part, these little thruster bells do actually move a little bit. They're on ball joints, you can move those slightly, but not really all that much. And your main stabilizers here can be rotated a little bit side to side, and then obviously you can move those up and down. The little fin on the top can move separately. You can bring the whole thing up and out like that, up and out. So you got lots of movement there, and it can actually stand up perfectly fine too when you have those extended. So you'd think that might cause some weight issues, but as you can see, even with those fully extended back, it's back heavy, but he's still able to stand flat-footed, so no problems there. And for a size comparison here for you guys, there it is compared with a standard 1/44 scale HG Gundam, and as you can see, obviously quite a bit larger than your average 1/44 scale Gundam. And then there is the SD Cassie Gundam, which we recently reviewed, which is based off of a different design, kind of a different design of the Cassie Gundam, so that's why there's a color difference there. Also, just like the design, the head design is different, and there's different aspects of the design that don't match, but most notably the colors, with the torso of that being blue, and also the shield having some more red and yellow accents, whereas we saw with this case with HGUC kit here, the shield being basically just white for the most part. But alright guys, so here it is transformed into the flight form, and I gotta say, pretty impressed. Never really thought I would be that much of a fan of the flight form, honestly, and with the Penelope as well too. You know, it wasn't necessarily something that I was really into, but with this one, I don't know, I gotta say, I'm kind of liking it. It's definitely pretty cool. It's really cool how like the back stabilizers kind of fold out to the side to be like kind of like these wings coming off the opened up shoulders and everything. It's pretty cool, I gotta say, and definitely lots of really nice detail up underneath there. Like I was mentioning before, the detail up underneath the front skirts, you also have a really nice amount of detail on those gray parts up underneath the big massive parts of shoulder armor there as well too for the flight form. So a lot of really great detail in there for a high grade kit, and I gotta say, a really nice kit overall. You've got a couple of seam lines here and there on the kit. Basically there's not really much on like the main body of the mobile suit. You basically got like a seam line on the top of that blue part on the inside of the shoulder there, which is kind of hidden a lot of the times anyway. That's kind of really the only seam line you have really too much to worry about. Then the rest of that's just going to be a little bit of seam line on the back stabilizers, on those big white parts of the stabilizers, is two halves sandwiched together, so you have a big long seam line down the end of those, which is not too surprising. And then just on the weapons for the most part, so I mean, really not too bad in the way of that. Stickers, you've got a few here and there, but again, for the size of it, it's not really that bad, and most of the stickers seem like they should be pretty easy to just paint in on your own too. If you want to go for a complete color accuracy, you want to paint in those. So overall, I gotta say, very good kit. It's got kind of all the main pros and cons of an HG kit, you know, a couple of hollow spaces here and there, seam lines, stickers, all of that, but the pros are really nice. It's a really big kit, very interesting design, very unique. quite large. That says it's going to be expensive, of course, but I think if you're a fan of the design, definitely go ahead and check it out. It's a really cool one, nice addition to the line, and just really cool that they even made it. Really, to be honest, the HGUC Cassie is a design I wasn't really sure if we were ever going to see an actual model kit of it. I don't expect we'll see like a master grade or an RG or anything at any point. It's possible maybe a master grade at some point. I still kind of doubt it though, just based on the size of this. If you guys saw how this compared to the RX-782 Gundam in HG form, imagine an MG, it'd be gigantic, like the size of a perfect grade. So I just don't really see that really happening, but I mean, it would be cool. For now, guys, though, I would highly recommend you guys check this one out. It's very nice. So, as always, thank you to USA Gundam Store for making it all possible. Of course, you guys can check this kit out at USA Gundam Store. The link and the coupon code for you guys to use will be down there in the video description, as always. So check that out. Big thank you to them, and thank you to you guys so much for watching the video, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff as well too. That also helps support me so much. So thank you all. I hope this video was useful for you guys interested in this kit. Let me know down in the comment section below. Till next time, hope you're all having a great day. I'll see you guys all later. Bye bye.